So, what are the common legal mistakes a buyer makes while purchasing, a farmland or an agricultural land, and how can they be avoided?
First mistake is
Some of the crook developers, they show different documents and different land, but the actual position is
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yes, it's very
Is
important.
that common? Is that
Okay, today we see a lot of documents which are created, How do we check the authenticity is
Authenticity.
to cross-verify with it.
so? You're saying the land granted to the scheduled tribe and scheduled caste are not to be purchased?
So they come with certain conditions. So
Right.
this is a common mistake that several people do, and they lose their land because
Wow.
Okay, these are the two important steps
Mm-hmm.
what every person has to do
Mm-hmm.
after the purchase of the land.
Hello everyone. In today's episode, we'll talk about everything that you need to know about buying farmland, right from legal due diligence to avoiding common pitfalls. I have with me advocate Madhuri Gaikwad, a legal expert in property and land records. Whether you're looking to buy farmland for a weekend getaway or just a piece of nature for a future appreciation, in today's episode, we will talk about all the legal due diligence that you need to look at before purchasing farmland. Hi, I am Almas Johari and welcome Advocate Madhuri Gaikwad.
Hi Almas, thank you for having me here and letting me be a part of this conversation.
It's a pleasure, ma'am. So this episode is informative for our viewers, those who are looking to buy farmland. So let's start at the beginning. What are the legal checks a customer or a buyer needs to look at before purchasing a farmland in Karnataka?
So when buyer wants to purchase a farmland in Karnataka, the first document we look at is the sale deed. If seller is having a right over the land. Along with the sale deeds, we look at other documents such as RTCs, mutation records, and encumbrance certificate. They are classified as revenue documents. There are two sets of documents. One is the title document, which talks about the ownership, and the revenue documents, which reflect the ownership and the names, how it is entered into a revenue register. A mutation register is a record wherein the name of the owner gets mutated in the government's document as per the title document. It might be through a sale or a partition or any other mode. The mutation reflects how the party acquires the land. These are the few important documents when the buyer has to purchase a land.
Interesting. So you talked about RTC, sale deed. Sale deed, as we all know, is when buyer executes sale deed to a seller. Then comes the RTC.
Yes.
So what is the significance of RTC and how important is it?
RTCs are nothing but record of tenancy and crops. So earlier, when the lands were cultivated by the farmers, they used to keep this as it is called as pahani in Karnataka. So what crop is being grown? Okay, that is the information of crops. If there's a tenant who is cultivating the land, the tenant's name would have been shown and the owner's name will be shown in the owner's column as to what is the extent of land which is cultivated, what is the kharab land, what is the crop which is grown, and if there's any tenant who is cultivating the land. These details forthcome in an RTC.
Also, there could be an owner and also a tenant,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So is it a common phenomena or there can be just one single owner with his cultivating with his name on the records?
Yes, even that could be a situation where the owner and the tenant name, so it is called as column 9 and column 11. Column 9 is the owner's name and column 11 is the tenant's name. So they can be the same names when the owner himself is cultivating the lands. In cases wherein owners have several pieces of land and they cannot cultivate by themselves, they usually lease the land to a tenant and the tenants cultivate the land, and at that point of time the tenant's name is shown reflected in the RTC. And there was a law wherein they said the tenants were the landlords. So this document became very important and crucial for them to prove their tenancy at that point of time. But today the significance is that it establishes a relationship between the tenant and the owner.
Right. Okay, so also see at times in the RTC there are mentions of court cases and stay orders.
Yes.
If you can elaborate a little more.
Yes. So if there's a case filed by any other party is showing that there is a dispute, a litigation with respect to the mutation register, the extent, or the title itself, like a litigation record which is shown in an encumbrance certificate, it is also shown in an RTC. So what happens is when a person takes out an RTC, if there's a litigation, it is shown alongside the name saying that this portion is under dispute, is under litigation. It might be before the AC court, it might be before the court, or even certain encumbrances where they have mortgaged the land to certain banks for availing loans. Even those encumbrances are shown in RTCs.
Can there be cases where it is not shown but actual cases on the land and it's not been reflected on the RTC?
Definitely, definitely. If a person does not take that measure to go and get it recorded in the taluk office, then it is not forthcoming in the document. So why do we do that? A person goes and gets transaction or a litigation entered in an RTC so that that land is not sold to anyone else without the knowledge of this person who has filed a sort of an objection to the land being sold.
Right. Okay. So let's say if it's not been reflected in the RTC and the RTC just shows the name of the present owner, where else can we cross-check, cross-verify to know that there are cases pending pertaining to the land?
Unless it is forthcoming in an encumbrance certificate or an RTC, it is very difficult to check if there's litigation pending. Unless there is some sort of a document, or when we do our due diligence, if the document is marked in the court, or if there's some sort of an order sheet provided to us, it is very difficult for us to understand if there's any litigation pending.
Right. So how many years of the RTC documents that you usually look at, from which year?
It is 1965. RTCs have been into existence from 1965 till date, and we look at documents from
all the way
yes
to the present, just to know the flow
yes
of the ownership.
Yes.
Right. So along with the RTC, what is the role of the mutation, MR, as you mentioned?
So the second document after the sale deed is the first document which confers the title on the purchaser. Now, once land is purchased, it has to be entered in a revenue document. Mutation register means the name of the owner is mutated in the register. The new owner's name is mutated instead of the old owner's name in against the land in the revenue records. It is the second crucial document which confers the ownership, which reflects the ownership rather, in favor of the purchaser. And it also reflects how the property has been purchased or acquired by the purchaser. It can be through sale or through intestate. When a person dies without a will, it is an intestate acquisition. If he is acquired through intestate, or through partition, or through any other means, even if there's a court case and an order is passed by the court, such orders are shown in MRs.
Right.
Okay,
right.
That is a kind of mutation. Also, when the lands are converted, when a land is converted from an agricultural use to residential use or industrial use, even such conversions are forthcoming in mutation register.
So you also talked about EC,
Yes.
encumbrance certificate.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little more about that?
So, encumbrance certificate is a document which reflects the transactions which have occurred with respect to certain properties. When you look for the encumbrances, that may reflect either sale or lease or loans, whichever document which is registered in the sub-registrar's office is reflected in an encumbrance certificate. Encumbrance certificate is nothing but it shows the encumbrances of the scheduled property.
And how many years is good enough for, say, a new time buyer to look at?
So today, I think we can look at documents from 1960 to avoid any litigation. If there is any litigation prior to that also, we are covered under Limitation Act. Further, 1960 is, today we are looking at around 65 years.
65 years. Is it good enough?
Yes.
You talked about Limitation Act. What is Limitation Act?
So if there are, a lot of lands owned here fall under the Hindu law. Okay, most of the lands here, and when the lands are sold by their ancestors, okay, today a child shouldn't come back and claim that even I had a share in that land.
Right.
Okay, so when we look at the family tree and all those documents, we can rule out that okay, this person loses his claim over the property.
Right.
So that we avoid any litigations in the
In
future.
the future.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say if the land is inherited, good to have all the family members
Yes.
party to the sale deed.
Yes.
Right. So you're saying the period for limitation is?
So this is 13 years. It depends from case to case.
It depends from
Yes.
case to case.
Yes. So
Right.
it depends as in what are we looking at? Is it after birth, after he turns major? So it depends. So it's 3 years after he turns a
Interesting.
major. So
Right.
it depends.
It depends. So when it comes to inheritance, we see a lot of lands being inherited by the forefathers, especially in the agriculture. We see that a lot because a lot of agriculturists who owned lands back in the days have passed away and forgone, and their children and grandchildren have inherited. Right? How do we ascertain that all the family members are party to the sale deed?
So we look at a document called the family tree. Okay, the family tree is issued by the tahsildar or the village accountant. So it gives us an authenticity as to how many members are there in the family. So if the child is below the age of 18, the father usually signs as a guardian to the sale deed.
Right.
So we ensure that every party, whoever is there in the family tree, sign the sale deed to avoid any future litigation.
Future litigations. Okay. So we talked about sale deed, then we talked about EC, and then we talked about MR, and then RTC.
Yes.
What is next?
There are several other documents which we look at, like 4D and survey and a village map to ascertain where the property is. And the number of documents which we look at is too many. But from a common man's perspective, I think these are the main documents,
documents that are
which,
required.
yes,
So as I understand, there are two types of documents. One is a must-have,
yes,
and then there is a good-to-have document.
yes.
So what is a must-have and what is a good-to-have? Just give us a short brief.
So the main documents such as the sale deeds, MRs, ECs, RTCs are must-have documents. See, from a lawyer's perspective, all the documents are must-haves. We cannot
Right.
say that this is all right. But
Right.
at times when we look at the property at large, sometimes we say, okay, we can see if this document is not there. Now, there is a law that there should be no land in the buffer zone when there's a river or a
River,
lake
correct.
or a stormwater drain.
What is it called in Kannada? What is the term?
Kere ಒತ್ತುವರಿ ಅಂಗಳ, they say.
Kere.
So you cannot, once there's a lake, there is a 30-meter buffer zone from the surveyor stone,
Right.
which is prohibited from any sort of development. So, sir, at times when we look at the village map, we know that there is no lake in that portion. So, we don't ask for the document at that point of time because we know that there is no lake or a river or a stream flowing there. So, at that point of time, we overlook at that document. So, it is again from a circumstance viewpoint, we think, okay, what document is required, what is not required, and we at that point decide on these documents.
Right. So then comes the survey documents, as you mentioned.
Yes.
So these are important documents as to ascertain where exactly the land is located.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So then what is next? After the survey records, then you know
So,
the
yes,
position
so-
of the land.
Yes, once we know where the land is and that the land is situated here and the title is fine, the documents, the purchaser can get a copy of the documents from the seller and then have it verified from the lawyer to ascertain that all the documents are in place and all the documents are genuine. Okay, today we see a lot of documents which are created, wherein
Wow.
they have created old documents.
Wow.
Okay, how do we check the authenticity is
Authenticity.
to cross verify with an MR, an RTC, and EC. So all the documents, the main title documents, are reflected in these documents. So that is how we check the authenticity.
So what are the common legal mistakes a buyer makes while purchasing, a farmland or an agricultural land, and how can they be avoided?
Yes. First mistake is, rather than legal mistake, first mistake is people don't go check the land and get it surveyed by a government appointed surveyor to check if the exact measurement is there. A person is shown a land but he doesn't know if any of the land is encroached by any other party or by the neighbors. So it is always better that the land is surveyed and the measurements are as per the sale deed. So
Right.
this is a common mistake that several people do, and they lose their land because
Wow.
the extent what is mentioned in the sale deed is not there in the actual.
In the possession.
Yes, in possession. So that is very very important that a person first gets the land surveyed. Secondly, if permitted, they can carry out a paper publication and put a hoarding that they are intending to purchase this property. And if there is any objection, it might be sent to their lawyer's addresses. This is to avoid any litigation if any other party is claiming. So we were talking about litigations and how to check if there's any impending litigation with respect to the properties. When a person is intending to purchase a property, that person can always carry out a paper publication firstly, and secondly put up a hoarding over there that you are intending to purchase a property. And if there is any litigation or any objection, the person may be contacted to just
Right.
to understand if there are impending litigations. So these are very important checks to be done by a purchaser
Right.
while purchasing a property.
Right. So even if if the documents are clear and showing a good, clear flow,
Title.
clear title, it is also important to make sure that the survey and the position is known.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oftentimes, we've heard people when they go. This usually happens. When if a new time buyer is not well versed with local system, right? So the brokers, or rather some of the crook developers, they show different documents in different land, but the actual position is
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yes, it's very
Is
important.
that common? Is that
It is happening. So Bangalore has grown so fast, with the growth. There are a lot of genuine people, but with them there comes a small percentage of such people as well.
right?
It's
Right.
better be safe than sorry.
It's better to be safe than sorry. That's actually very important. Let's say if I were to be buying, I may not be buying, let's say out of 10-acre land, I just want to buy a 1 acre, even lesser than that, maybe a half an acre, maybe, right? To 20 guntas, half an acre is 20 guntas. What happens then? Like, I mean,
Okay.
my clearance is done. I've got the clearance from my advocate. Now, what next?
So while purchasing a land, you want to purchase a portion of land. That's when we do a 4D of the land, where we draw what is the land which needs to be acquired, and a Lebanese sketch is drawn.
11 sketch.
Yes, a Lebanese sketch is drawn, wherein the portion to be purchased is marked and is attached with the sale deed, saying that this is the portion of land which is conveyed to the purchaser. So these are certain crucial documents which come along with the sale deed during the purchase.
Right. So this shows that intended purchase is approved by the government surveyor.
Yes, yes, and the land is as per the sketch.
As per this sketch.
It exists in possession as per the sketch. This could be.
Right. Okay, interesting. We have gone through all the legal flow, the clarity, the legal records are there, the titles are clear. Then we examine, we make sure that the land is surveyed, and if required, do the paper publication. What next? Are we ready?
Yes. So the other document what we look at are the endorsements. There are 2 endorsements. Earlier we used to look at 3 endorsements. Now, so first is a PTCL endorsement.
Right.
Okay, PTCL is that there are no claims from the SC and the SC. There were certain lands which were granted to the SC class and the ST class, the scheduled
tribe
caste and the scheduled tribes.
tribe.
So if there are certain lands which are in their favor, it is always better to get an endorsement that there are no claims under SC/ST, that is the PTCL Act. Firstly, secondly, tenancy.
So you're saying the land granted to the scheduled tribe and scheduled caste are not to be purchased?
So they come with certain conditions so that they are not cheated.
Right.
Okay, that the land shouldn't be conveyed within 15 years, 20 years. If the land has to be conveyed after that 15 years or 20 years, it has to be, and no objection has to be obtained from the government with certain clauses. So it's always better to get an endorsement that the land does not, there are no claims under PTCL Act.
Right.
Firstly. Secondly, we look at if there are tenancy claims, if there are tenants who are claiming on the lands. We spoke about the tenancies in RTCs. So there are no tenancy claims. And thirdly, there's an endorsement.
It's called a nil tenancy certificate.
Yes, nil tenancy certificate. And the other one is the 79AB. wherein earlier this is removed now. It has been
It's not
removed
in
by,
effect.
yes, it is not an effect, wherein a person had to be a farmer to purchase land, and a person should not have had more than 1 lakh of annual income to purchase agricultural land. But today it is repealed and it is not in
The
existence.
entire 79 AB Act
Yes.
is repealed, and hence any non-agriculture who's willing to buy agricultural land can
Yes, anyone can
purchase.
buy land
Anyone
today.
from
Any Indian
across
citizen.
India can
Yes.
buy
Yes.
just with your Aadhaar card and PAN card.
Yes. So these are the certain endorsements which we look at while doing our due diligence of the land.
Right. What is next as a buyer, just to be safe, just to be extra safe? Most of the new age buyers, are hesitant to buy agricultural land, especially away from the city, right? So they want to be extra careful and extra secure. So with appreciation, of course, the land gives a better appreciation than any other commercial assets or any other asset class. That comes with also some amount of risk. So they want to be extra careful and extra secure, right? So they have done the due diligence. They are happy. They're satisfied. Should they be fencing? What else?
Yes. So once the purchase is done, the first step is to fence the property. Okay, to make sure no one encroaches your land. First. Secondly, get your names entered into mutation registers and the RTCs, so that the names are reflected in the revenue records.
Right.
Okay, these are the two important steps what every person has to do after the purchase of the land.
Okay. So you secure the sale deed, and then you make sure that your name is mutated in the
It's entered in the RTC.
It's entered in the RTC, and you have MR.
Yes.
Mutation.
And the land is fenced.
And the land is fenced. Land buying can be lucrative, but also comes with a lot of risk. So it is important to understand the legal aspect before you make a purchase decision. Thank you so much, Ms. Madhuri, for giving us such insightful knowledge, all the legal aspects, what you can look at before purchasing a farmland. I hope this was informative enough for the first-time buyers who are looking to own a piece of nature and build their dream farmhouse. So stay tuned for more such informative videos. That's a wrap from us. Thank you so much.